Hello students, we just want to do a quick video finishing up the topic 6 overview and also using it to help set up your paragraph on the New Deal. So two of the last three questions that we should have to finish up, looking at the positive and negative effects of the New Deal on Americans. And this is going to be important because that's basically what your paragraph is about. So the first one, the positive effects, would be covered by lessons 4 and 6, looking at some of the New Deal programs and then also the outcomes of the New Deal. Some examples of the positive effects of the New Deal is the reduction in unemployment, stabilized banks, markets, crop prices, etc., provided financial security, built infrastructure, parks, irrigation through the CCC, brought economic development to underdeveloped areas like the TVA, protected vulnerable citizens, and overall, it could be argued it helped the economy recover. The negative side will be covered by lessons 5 and 6, 5 focusing on the criticisms or oppositions to the New Deal, which is where you'll find a lot of the arguments against the New Deal, and lesson 6, which focuses on the outcomes of the New Deal again, which also has some negative effects. Increasing the debt and raising taxes. These programs are very expensive. Some of them excluded people of color and women, oftentimes on purpose, sometimes by accident. Regulation is going to put heavy restrictions on businesses and how they get to use their business, and it's going to raise food prices through like the AAA. And also it creates a sort of dependency, at least to some degree, on the government. Now I wanted to make sure we covered these two things before we get to the prompt for topic 6. Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal programs use the federal government's power to provide relief, recovery, and reform from the high unemployment and widespread poverty of the Great Depression. There's our setup. You can use that as your context sentence as usual to begin your paragraph. Don't forget, you do need to have context. You need to set the stage. And then the question for the prompt, would you have supported the New Deal? So you're going to take one of two sides. Either the New Deal was a good thing, a positive thing, and you could use some of those examples to support it, or the New Deal was a bad thing and you would use the negatives. So when we return to this, the first part, positives of the New Deal, you need, remember, 4 arguments. And as far as evidence, look for specific programs that do the things that you're saying they do. If you say they reduced unemployment, cite something like the WPA. Providing financial security, you might want to cite something like Social Security. If you want to argue the negative, that you would not have supported the New Deal, these negative effects can be used as arguments against the New Deal. So make sure you use evidence here again. If you want to talk about it, increasing the debt, mention something like the WPA, which was an expensive program. Excluding women or people of color, Social Security also does that as well. So when you take a look at the argument builder, your context in the upper right hand corner there, that can just be the first sentence of the prompt. Your thesis should support an entire argument, so you should be putting together all of the different points that you're making into one or two general arguments. So don't just say, I think I would not have supported the New Deal, give me the main argument why, and then your 1, 2, 3, 4 reasons. For the complexity, of course, you still need to argue something from the other side and counter that. And so a lot of these programs we looked at as being both positives and negatives. That's a good opportunity for complexity for you to say, here's something that was negative about it. However, the WPA, you could argue the WPA was very expensive and cost a lot in taxes. However, it rebuilt the nation's infrastructure and put a lot of Americans to work. And if you want to flip it the other way around, you could say, well, some might say the WPA helped reduce unemployment. However, it was very expensive and increased the national debt or something to that effect. Returning to the topic 6 overview for the very last question, how does the New Deal change the role of the federal government? This one's going to be important with your extended response questions. Various aspects of that, the creation of the welfare state, the idea that the government is responsible for citizens' well-being. It regulates, the government now is kind of seen as being responsible for regulating the economy. It is much more active in citizens' lives, than it used to be. Primarily, we had been interacting with state and local government much more than federal government prior to the 1930s. It's going to expand the size of the government, particularly the executive branch, as all these new programs are put in place, and the executive branch has to carry all of these new responsibilities out. And then, of course, while this isn't really about the role of the federal government, don't forget about the New Deal coalition, this sort of new voting bloc that becomes reliable Democratic voters for the next several decades at least. That included a lot of people who benefited from and supported the New Deal. So blue-collar factory workers, African Americans, Midwestern farmers, and then, of course, what was the core of the Democratic Party prior to this, which was Southern whites. Okay, so write your paragraph. Don't forget 4 reasons why, with evidence for each, as well as a counterclaim, context, thesis, and all that stuff. Good luck.